What's happening, graphic designers? In today's episode, you're going to be learning a practice that I've been doing for years that is going to help you become an awesome graphic designer when it comes to layout design. And that is by just simply taking graphic design layouts that you have done already and reformulating all the important elements, keeping the continuity of design, and redesigning them into different canvas sizes. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 10 of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp, where in every episode I take a fictitious brand that I developed in my previous series and I use it. I do something with it that eventually you're going to be asked by a client to design. So if we can go back to episode number 10 of Logo Design Bootcamp, I designed a logo for Jam and Jammies. Now, because this logo is now going to be put on print or web advertisement, I decided to clean the logo up, make it look a little bit more professional, as you can see, and I decided to design a couple of things for web with this. I designed a email blast or something that would be a coupon on an actual website, and I'll go into reasoning on certain sizes and stuff like that when I critique the piece. I also designed two ads that would be actual web banners or ads that you just see on any website you're on. So this is going to be a really fun tutorial. You're going to learn a ton, including how to save these things for web a specific way. So the greatest thing about this whole entire series is that if you click this button right here, you can download the files that I have put together for this tutorial, minus the images that I purchased for it. So it's a great way to side-by-side follow the tutorial and follow the file that I have provided. So let me critique this piece real quick and then I will get into building this. Today we're going to be really building this in Adobe Illustrator CS6, but we're also going to be spending a pretty good amount of time in Photoshop to get our images where we need them to be. So let's go. Okay, so right now we have three different dimensions. We have the first one up here that is going to be for an email blast or on a page of a website, say the specials page, and they're going to be able to print this coupon out. Now, this coupon, whether, like I said, it's on your website or it comes from an email blast, you have to take certain things into consideration, and the most important thing is the size. What is the most important size when it comes to width and height? Now, I did some research on the internet for this, and I also use a program called Constant Contact, and they usually recommend in width to be 400 and 600 pixels in width. You can go larger, and in this case I did 700 pixels in width because I like breaking the rules, and I know it works because I do these all the time, and I always check them on different computers and different email systems, and they always show me what I need to see. Nothing gets cut off, basically. And in height, because everybody's screen resolution is completely different, from 300 to 500, you want to make sure your important message is near the top. So if you have a coupon, you don't want it to be near the bottom of this message because there is a very good chance if you don't catch the viewer's attention very quickly, they're not going to scroll to the bottom to see that coupon. So in here, you're going to learn all types of stuff about typography and, playing around with it over here. With the take an extra 25% off. You're going to learn about how to align things, elements. There's some transparent elements over here. How to get this image and adjust it in Photoshop because this image originally, came to like here. So it didn't have all this extra, background around it. So you're going to learn how to add that. And you're going to learn how to add these tick marks around for a coupon. Along the way, I'm sure there's obviously more little things you'll learn. But coming over here, this is a, I believe it's a 120 by 600 in height banner that you'll see on most websites, and taking the most important elements and putting it in here. And obviously, when they click on more info, that's where they're going to get, all the main info for this. And the final one, this is a 250 by 250, which is something you'll see definitely again on a sidebar of an internet page, of any website that you're on. And it'll lead you to, most likely, these coupons over here, the two to the right, will lead you to this on the left on a website. So let's jump into Adobe Illustrator CS6 today, and I will show you how to build all three of these. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do in Adobe Illustrator is we're going to go to File, New, and we're going to name this Web Graphics. And we're going to change the profile to web. And we are in the end going to have 3 artboards, but let's just leave it at 1 right now. I'll show you a new way to create artboards very quickly. Every tutorial I do, I will show you things a different way. So if you tune into this entire series, you'll have an entire arsenal of tools at the end. The size of this first one we're going to do is 700 pixels, and the height is going to be 267 pixels. Don't worry about bleed in this case, and now you're going to hit OK. We're going to zoom out from here, and now we have our first banner. What we're going to do to make these other 2 artboards is we're going to come up to the rectangle tool, and we're just going to click the tool, and then we're going to click on the artboard, and we're going to make a width of 120 pixels by 600 pixels. And we're going to hit OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back to that rectangle. We're going to make another one of 250 pixels by 250 pixels, and we're going to hit OK. So these are going to be our 3 ads. But if you see, if we come into our artboards, we still only have 1 artboard. What you're going to do now is you're going to select both of these shapes that you made over here. You're going to come up to Object, Artboards, Convert to Artboards. So now you see we have 1, 2, 3 artboards, and they are stuck on our page right now. If you want to move your artboards, you can come into Document Setup up here, or you can click the artboard thing over here, and you want to now go to Edit Artboards. So, say your artboards look like this, and you want to realign them, you could just click them like so, and you can realign them. It's nice to have them all close together so you can kind of see what's going on. So now we're going to click off there. Now we have our artboards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into our old document, and I'm going to copy all this stuff over because I just want to have a reference while I'm redesigning these, because this tutorial is going to take a much shorter amount of time than it really took to make all these. So let me just kind of put these over next to everything. Actually, I'll move this one out of the way for now. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to come onto my desktop and find this image that I purchased from a stock photography website. I'm going to pull it into Adobe Photoshop. Now this image is of a cute little girl on a very nice background. It's very color corrected, and she's in her pajamas. So it works perfectly well with Jam and Jammies. And what we want to do is we want to add about this, a certain amount of background to the top and to the side of this image, so we can use it in our design layouts. You're basically expanding the pixels to create more of this image, because right now we're really constrained with how big this girl is, taking up almost 50% of this image. So we're going to change that. What you want to do is you want to jump into your background layer and just double click it and then hit OK, because right now there was a lock on it, and now there's not a lock on it anymore. Now you'll be able to edit it to do whatever you want to do with it. What you want to come and do next is you want to come up to Image, Canvas Size. And you want to change your canvas size. We want to basically add to the right, and we want to add to the top. So what you want to do is you basically want to hit this down arrow, and if you hit the down arrow, you're basically saying, and I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but if you're hitting the down arrow, you're basically adding to the opposite direction. So I'm adding, if I want to add to the top, I'm going to hit this down arrow right here. And if I want to add to the right, I'm going to hit the left arrow. And that's basically, if you see how the arrows are, it's showing you it's going to add. This is what it's basically going to add in this direction. The dot is the original image. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to, by chance, I'm going to make our art, and I'm going to resize this in a minute anyway. I'm going to make our width of, say, 25 and our height of about 20. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to see what kind of extra space we get. All right. Visually, what I really am looking for is I'm looking for a little bit different of a space. So I'm going to take my crop tool up here, my marquee tool. I'm just going to marquee a little bit down from the top because there's too much on the top. And I'm going to come up to Image Crop. Okay, that's more of what I'm trying to do here. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take our marquee tool again, and we're just going to select a little bit of this background, and we're going to come all the way to the right over here. And all you're going to do is hit Shift Delete, or you can come up to Edit, Edit Fill, And we're going to go into contents and use content aware. And when you hit OK, it's going to think for a second and it's going to start producing a result to go in there. Now, content aware is something that came out in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, excuse me, CS5. And it can do a lot of cool things. Sometimes you won't always get the results that you want, but let's see what happens in this case. Okay, so this is what it really came up with. This is how it basically rendered. And besides what's going on over here, it's pretty believable. So I'm just going to leave this. I'm going to hit Command D. Now, the reason this is taking so damn long is because of the fact that my image is so enormous already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually back up what I just did. All right, if you think I'm crazy, I am. I'm now going to go into image size. And I'm going to change this resolution, first of all, to 72 because we're not using this for print. And I should have done this earlier. But hey, you know what? Now you learn a different way to, make a mistake and then go backwards. So if you see what happened as I took this resolution down to 72, it's saying my image was roughly 110 megs, and now it's about 6. So you see how drastically it brings the image size down. Now, this is also saying the document size as if it was 25 inches. Okay, that's enormous. That's a poster. So if I bring this down and I want to actually, we're going to change this. Actually, let's come up here. My longest width that I'm going to have this image is 700, but I still might scale it up and stuff like that. So I'm going to just take this document size right down here. I'm going to say we did about, well, actually, you know what? Let's not do that. I'm just thinking about this right now. Let's make our width about 1500 because I might still want to scale this up in a clipping mask that I'm doing on my layout. So right now, it drastically brought my file size down. We're going to hit OK. Now we're going to zoom in, and we're still going to have a nice quality image, but it's going to be resampled for the size that we need. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this marquee again. Now this time we're going to hit Shift Delete, and you're going to see the fill comes up with content aware. Hit OK, and you're going to notice instantly, boom, it didn't take that long at all. We're going to do the same thing to the top now. Shift Delete, and then hit OK. All right, so now that's what we did not want. So what we can do here is we can try this again in this area right here and hit Shift Delete, and now hit OK. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is while this is marqueed, I'm just going to go to Option, click, and I'm going to shift this over. Do once, I'm going to do it twice. Okay, now we're going to hit Command D. And if you see we have some rough lines right here, what you can do is you can come into the clone stamp tool right here, which is I'm very used to. If you guys have any other tools that you like to mention, please be my guest. And you're going to hit Option, click, and you're just going to, basically you're cloning. I'm cloning this area right here in whatever area I specify. So I'm basically going to take these lines out of here. You can change the opacity of this brush to make things flow, more evenly. But now I have exactly what I want. I'm now going to save this. I'm going to save this as a PSD file just in case I need to get back in here. Say you did anything with layers, that it'll keep the layers. I'm going to name this girl background. .psd. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for the purpose of this tutorial. And I'm going to jump back into Adobe Illustrator. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and we're going to place that image from my desktop, girl background, and I'm going to place her in this image. So you see what happened. This image at its full size, it's even bigger than my one banner, but that's good because that means that I can mess around, like I said, in a clipping mask if I want to make this girl really small like it is up here, like she is up here. So let's get into designing this first banner on the left. The very first thing you want to do when you have your image in Illustrator is you want to think for the future. So you want to go to Option, click, and copy this over. So Option, click, and copy it over. The way you copy is by dragging it over. So we want to move these out of the way because we're going to be using both of these images for these banners later on. So we don't want to be having to, select it from the old artwork that we did on this banner. So we're going to zoom in here, and in your swatches, you're going to see 2 green colors, 2 Pantones, and a pink color. So we're going to use those in a second. But what I want to do is I want to take this image, and I want to come into my Reflect tool, or O on the keyboard, and we're just going to hit We're going to click, then hit shift, hold shift down, and we're just going to move from left to right. She's going to flip right over. We're now going to take a rectangle and we're going to just kind of eye this up right here. And I'm going to make a rectangle about yay high. We always change this later. It doesn't matter what color's in it. I'll put blue in it just to not confuse you with the pink in it. And I'm going to now take my image and I'm going to put it under the box. Now, if your image looks like this and it's over the box that you just created, you want to now go to Object Arrange, Send to Back. And in my case, because I did the image second, I did, this was already on the canvas, the picture of the girl, and then I did this, it appeared right on top. So I'm now going to select both of these, and I'm going to right click and hit Make Clipping Mask. Now, basically, this little girl is within that box that I made. I'm now going to move her up a little bit so her head doesn't touch the top of the canvas, but then there's a little bit of, the room of the bed underneath her. So let me zoom in here and let's see. I'm now going to move this over. I need to actually hit E on my keyboard and I need to scale her up a little bit because she wasn't meeting the edge. It was a little bit of a white space there. That's going to look funny. And that's why I added all that extra space. Say I wanted to pull her down even more. I have all this extra background wall space or whatever you want to call it to work with. So now what we're going to do is we are going to come up here and we're going to make a rectangle about yay high. Let's see. Does it go over the sheets? Let's make it maybe around to the, let's see how I did it here. One. Okay, cool. What I want to do is, let's come back. I want to make a rectangle. And it's going to come all the way to the bottom of this image. I'm going to come into my gradient tool and I'm going to make a gradient. And normally, I'm going to go back to the default on gradients. Normally a gradient will look like this. It will be black to white when you click on the gradient tool. Let me just... It'll look from black to white. So what we want to do is we want to pull this pink or any pink you'd like in the black area. Now we want to take the white area. We want to click on the slider, the gradient slider, and we're going to change the opacity to 0. And the last thing we're going to do is, actually, should we do this yet? We'll come into our transparency and hit multiply. Okay, cool. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the reflect tool again. We're just going to flip this around just like we did to the picture of the little girl. Hold shift while you're moving to the right. And now this is going to move over to the right. Basically what I did was I created a gradient from pink to transparent. So it goes basically to nothing. And I did a transparency of multiply so you could see the background, the wall, and the bed still with this image, which is pretty cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image, I'm going to go to Command C, and I'm going to go to Command F. And that's going to paste it on top of itself. So basically, if I move this off, now you see there are 2 of them. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here, and I'm just going to, for some reason, let's see. It's like a bug. I keep clicking on this, and it's clicking on, there we go. I'm going to, it was clicking, it was grouped with something else up here on accident. I'm going to now take this and I'm just going to pull this up horizontally till I get like a nice little rectangle. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to just move this up a little bit till there's some spacing there. It's just a little effect that I like to do to style it up a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another rectangle down here. And it's going to be green. And I can have this go all the way to the bottom right now. We're going to change this later. And I'm going to fill this with that green. Excuse me, the lighter green that we have in here. And I'm going to zoom in for a second. I'm going to pull this clipping mask up. Because you see how I have this little, you have the pink and then you have this little extra right here. I'm going to pull that up. And I'm going to actually shorten this area with the green. I'm doing this by hitting A on my keyboard and getting the white arrow, which is the direct selection. And I'm clicking and just moving it up just a little bit to fill in that area. Actually, let's go a little bit more. Move that over a little bit. Cool. All right, so now that we have that, basically, in my Jam and Jammies logo, are a bunch of stars. So I'm going to pull them out of my background like so. And I'm just going to, by going to Option click Shift, shifting them over, and now they're in the background. So you have to go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front. And now we have our stars. Now, if you want to know how to make stars, you just come right into here into the star tool. And what I would recommend is, because you're working with, well, I work with a white background on my interface. You can do any any value of gray to on your background. So I'm going to fill these with black for right now. So you can always just start Option click shifting stars out. Say you make a bunch of stars. I'm just doing this a little bit quick. And then, we're going to Option click Shift, and we're going to scale these down a little bit. So now we have smaller stars. We can Option click Shift and make your quick little background like so. Now you can, obviously go from left to right with these. And then some stars are going to overlap, so it's going to look funny, like right over here. So then you delete these. And then, you work with this for a little bit, and then you have your background. So let's see. We'll take some of these out. Looks pretty similar to what I have here. So that's how you make the star background. And then eventually you're just going to take all these, go to Command G, fill it with white, and put it right over here. But let's see, what did I do with these stars? Only thing I did with these stars was I went into my transparency and I brought it down to 60%. So you can see a nice little overlay there. But I'm going to delete these and use the stars that I did, because I did spend a lot of time, spacing the stars out the way I wanted to. Okay, so we basically got the hard part out of the way, all this background stuff. Now, like I said, we're just going to put the text on top. We're going to come into our type tool, and we're going to just click straight on our canvas. And we are going to, don't click one of the stars, because that is a actual shape right there. So we're just going to say we'll click right over here right now. We're going to type in Full Special, and we're going to hit Escape to end the selection. We're going to scale this up. Hold Shift while you're doing it, or this is going to happen. Hold Shift while you're doing it, like I said. Let's see. I did Helvetica. New A. Did I do Helvetica? Yeah, I did. Did Helvetica something? Let's see. Ultra X. Let's see. Compressed. That looks good enough. I'm not a big fan of stretching type, but I'm gonna do it in this case anyway, because it looks believable. What I want to do here is I want to actually now go to Option click, and I'm going to shift this over because I want to use this type later on. I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to go to Command C and Command B. I know you can use the appearance palette for this stuff, but I just like to do this really quick. This is the way I like to do it. I copied it behind itself, and now I'm just going to throw a white stroke on it, and I'm going to add some weight to it. I'm going to come in here to the corner. I'm going to round it so it doesn't look funny. And now I'm going to come into Effects, Stylize, Drop Shadow. I'm going to hit Preview, and that is way too big. I'm going to change the pixels to, say, 2 pixels, and then the opacity to about 40%. Get a nice soft, that blurs too much still. I'm going to change that blur to 1%. I'm now going to hit OK, and like I said, the reason I did the two of them, you never ever, and I wanted to show you something, Option click Shift, you never want to add a stroke on text, because I want to zoom in and show you what's going to happen. You want to, if you add a stroke and you increase the weight of that stroke, you see how it's eating away at the text in the inside? I'm going to delete that. I'm going to take this top one, I'm going to hit Command 2 to lock it, and now I'm going to select the one underneath. And I'm going to do the same thing with the weight and watch what happens. I don't lose anything that's on the middle. So that's very important for you all to know. Like I said, I don't really use the appearance palette for stuff like this, because it's, this is a quick thing. The appearance palette, you'd be able to do a stroke. You'd be able to basically make a style that you can continue to use throughout your entire piece. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, what font did I use here? All right, I did use Helvetica New Way. I'm just going to sample my font, so I don't have to do this again. I'm going to go to Type, change case, lowercase. I want this to all be lowercase. And I'm going to type out Take N. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm now going to go to Option, click Shift, because these are all different text boxes. The E is capitalized. And I'm going to make the word extra larger now by going to Shift, holding Shift, and scaling this up to the corner corner point right there, the corner box. I'm now going to Option click Shift this again. I'm going to hit 25. I'm going to increase this. I'm now going to change that from regular to bold because I want the 25 to stand out. I'm going to make the percent sign in that same font as bold because I want percent to stand out. Stretch that a little bit. And now I'm going to take N. I'm going to bring that down here and type in the word off. What's very important also is that you always put an asterisk. It can really go anywhere, but it's got to be near your deal. So we're going to make it near the 25% off. I guess you could put it near the full special because it's not specials, it's special. So if you were talking about specials, you wouldn't need more than one disclaimer, so you wouldn't want to put it on that. But I guess it would work in either case on here. Let's see. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select, remember this pink box I made before with the gradient in it? I'm going to take my gradient tool, make sure I'm on my fill over here, and I'm going to pull this over because I want the pink to come in deeper into the piece. All right. Pretty much what I'm looking for right there. I'm now going to take N and I'm going to do all already reduced items. And I'm going to make sure every first letter is capitalized. That's called title case. You can also come up to type case, change case to title case if you didn't have it like that already. I'm going to bold the word all because we want everybody to know it's all already reduced items. I'm now going to shift this down and let's see, I'm going to have to mess around with this later. We'll go to Option, click Shift this asterisk over. Oh, you know what? I think oh no, I'm cool. Why did I do the asterisk twice? I honestly don't know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that asterisk there because that's big and annoying. Let's see. Oh, I just realized that now. So move this over. What we're now going to do is we're going to take our Jammin' Jammies logo. We're just going to go to Option, click Shift, and I designed this purposely. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. I designed this purposely that the logo, everything would flow around the logo in a way. Obviously, I have a little space right here and here, but that's okay. I've now noticed that when I did this gradient, you see how I'm having this hard edge here, and I do not want that. I'm going to now have to come back into my gradient. I'm going to take this slider. I'm going to pull it over a little bit. It's the pink slider, and let's click off and see if we see that line anymore. The line is now gone, which is good. The very last thing you're going to do is you're just going to make a text box right in here, out here, and then we're going to pull that in. And I'm just going to take all this text that was right here. Turn our sound off. Going to put all our text in here in our text box. Make sure it's white so you can actually see it. And I'm just going to scale this, move that up a little bit because in a second we're going to make a nice clipping mask around this whole thing. I'm now going to go to Option, click Shift to take N. And yes, you don't want to always go to your type tool, click. That's like the most annoying thing to ever do. So that's why you want to keep copying your text boxes. You want to speed through these layouts. Time is money. So you want to now scale this down in store only. And I'm going to put it kind of floating right here. And I'm going to make a rectangle. Actually, excuse me. I'm going to make a rounded rectangle. We're going to play with the Pathfinder for a second. I'm going to make a rounded rectangle like so. And I want to make sure that you see on this one that the bottom left is round and nothing else is. So we can play around and make a rectangle. Actually, let me just fill that one right I have. I'm going to make a rectangle over this. So I'm going to put that in magenta. I'm going to make another rectangle on this side. So basically, after I use the Pathfinder on both of these, all is going to be left is that blue square. That blue with the bottom. I'm basically going to cut it out and make its own shape. So I can select all three of these. And I'm going to come into Pathfinder and hit the minus front, which is the second one from the top left. And I can now pull this in. I'm going to scale this a little bit. And I'm going to now pull that in. And I don't like the scaling of it because I know we're in storage. So I'm going to now hit A on my keyboard, the direct selection, click the line, hold shift and then click the line. You're going to see how it now opens up and turns, the boxes are now white in the middle. You can pull that over and you're going to do the same thing with this. I'm now going to make that 90% black. Now we're going to go to Option 2, Command 2 to lock that black, so we can't actually select that because the text is hiding underneath. We're now going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, because technically it is an object, it is a text box. So in Store Only. I'm now going to move this up a little bit because I realize I have the room. So this is all refining. You know, usually do this more at the end, but I'm doing it right now so you guys can learn little tools here and there. The next thing I'm going to do is you just want to make 2 text boxes, and I made them the font of this, which is called Teaspoon Regular. All right, and let's see, did I miss anything over here? No, I'm going to come back and make these little ticks later and make the clipping mask, but right now I'm going to jump into make my other ads really quick, and then I'm going to come back in here. The next one I'm going to do is this vertical 120 by 600 skyscraper type of an ad, and I'm going to now click document setup, edit artboards, because I want to get this one right out of my way. I want to be able to have some room over here as I design this, and what I mean was I'm going to pull this right over here alongside it. I want it to be right up and next to it. Remember in the beginning I said to think about the future? Well, now we are in the future, and we are going to we're going to flip this little girl around. And we're going to, let's see, I want to kind of, she's pretty much scaled to where she needs to be. I'm going to clip her, I'm going to make a clipping mask about yay high. And if you see what I did, I kind of fudged this. I could have always went into Photoshop and made a transparency. You see how there's a hard line right there? I really don't love that. I can make this higher. Let's see, hide the logo right on top and you'll never know. I'm going to make a clipping mask just as we did earlier, and I'm going to pull her in here, and obviously my clipping mask is off. So with the direct selection or A on your keyboard, the white arrow, that's how you're going to alter this clipping mask and get it right to the edge. Okay, cool. I'm now going to move her up a little bit because the click for more info is just a text box. I'm just going to go to Option, click Shift. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. That was the last thing. I wanted it to be on the sheets of the bed so the black stood out, because if I put this on top of her, it might get lost. And click for more info is not, I mean, people know to click this stuff, but it's something that you should put on there. It's not the most important thing in the world. The Jam and Jammies logo, I'm going to go to Option, click. I'm going to shift this up, and it works perfectly with her head because, I'm going to arrange this, bring to the front, because you see how her head kind of falls within this area where it dips in. That was not pre-planned. That was a perfect, it's like one of those perfect accidents you always have when you're designing. All right, so what we're going to do up here is we're going to, now that we have this first one done, very simple. We're going to go to Option, click. We're going to shift this over, hit E on our keyboard. Now we can rotate from the top, and we're going to get this in here, and we can come into our width and make that 120. So it's the right width, and it's just going to kind of snap into place right there. You can have things snap into place by going to View, Snap to Point, or Snap to Grid. But most of the time, it always snaps to an artboard anyway, and I don't have that because I don't have those snaps on right now. I'm just going to pull this up because I do want a little bit of white. I don't want it to be totally pink this whole entire ad. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle this high, and we're going to make we're going to use this green right here, and very simply I'm going to go to Command C and Command B, and without clicking off anything, I want you to hit white to fill it with white, because like I said, you're still selected on it. And I want you to take this top box right here on the transform. I want you to hold Option, and it's going to pull it out from the top and the bottom, and since I turned it white and I let go, this is what happens. Basically, it created, I have a green box, a white box on top of my pink background. Full special is very simple. I'm just going to copy this over. I don't have to show you how to make that text box, but they are 2 different text boxes. Very important to know, because full and special, you're going to have to scale down so it fits under full. Now, you don't want special to look like this. You don't want it to look like this. You want it to basically flush with the left of this, And you can do that by moving up and holding shift to see if it lines up pretty well. And the L's line up also. So that is perfect. Same thing with, let's see, I'm going to just take this whole thing. It's copied as a selection. Take an extra 25% off. Now let's see, this is going to be interesting. Okay, you see how 25% off, it's all kind of getting lost because if we zoom out to 100%, this is what it's pretty much going to look like. It's getting lost because the pink isn't there anymore. So I am going to now expand this a little bit more, like I decided not to do before, but things change when you're designing. I'm now going to go to Option Click. I'm just going to shift this guy over. I know you'll be able to do this from the old file, but this is just basically a text box. The already reduced items is a text box, and it's ragged to the left. It's lined up to the left, and I did it in black, so it would stand out because the only other thing black on here besides this text down here is the Jam and Jammies logo. What I'm now going to do is in my character, I'm actually just going to lower the leading on this because it's kind of spaced out a little bit. And now we have this banner. This banner it'll be complete in a second. Okay, cool. That banner is pretty much complete. We're going to do the same thing with this last banner. And like I said, it's great because you have all these elements. You're just going to copy every single thing over. It's perfect. We're now going to take this green box up here, go to Option Click, shift it over. And let me pull my old ad up here so I have something to reference. Zoom in, and I'm going to make this a little bit higher. It's 250 pixels. No, it's 251 right now. I have to fix that. Cool. I'm now going to go to Option Click, Shift, and I'm going to make a space between there so it looks like there's a white space. That's what I wanted. I'm going to make that a solid pink. And I'm going to now get the image of the girl that I copied right over here. Same thing. I'm going to flip her around. I'm going to make some sort of box around her, and then I can always augment the size of this box. After making a clipping mask, I'm going to pull it in here, go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, so it's behind everything. Pull her up in here. I'm going to scale her down until her head is just under that pink ribbon. A little bit more. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this clipping mask and I'm going to bring it to the edge, and I'm going to pull the top of it down to the bottom. Move that to the edge right there. And I'm now going to, when I click her and this little X comes up, that means I have the picture, the image. So I'm now going to hit E on my keyboard to scale that up while it's in the clipping mask. Scale this up till I feel like where it needs to be. And very simply, again, text boxes. You can also make this other one down here by going to Command C, Command F, and pulling it down and then nudging it down with the down arrow. Actually, there's transparency on that. So I'll select this and I'll hit the eyedropper tool I on my keyboard to select that. Let's see. And flip it. All right, cool. That's what I wanted right there. And I'm now just going to basically, like I said, because we've been doing these text boxes all day, we're going to go to Option Click, Shift everything over here. And it's perfect because the Jam and Jammies logo fits perfectly proportional. It doesn't cut too much of her out. And you also got to take into account that when this thing's at 100%, which it is now, you got to be able to read or be able to notice what company that is. You might not be able to read the IN or the IES on this one right here. This one's a little bit larger, but after a company brands themselves, hopefully you'll be able to notice. You should be able to down the road. So that is how you actually build these. Now I'm going to jump back into this one, and we're going to have some fun with this one real quick. We're now going to get a rounded rectangle. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to make a rounded rectangle and make sure everything is going to fit in here when we do this. Let's see. I guess my scaling was a little off with this. All right, we'll change this in a second. I now have my rounded rectangle. I'm going to fill it with white so you can see where it is. It's basically no copies running through it. I'm now going to delete that. And because you copied it, you can get it right back to where it was in a second. I'm now going to select all this stuff. I'm going to go to Command G. I'm going to group everything. I'm now going to go to Command F to repaste that clipping mask right on top. And I'm now going to select both of these. I'm going to right click and hit Make Clipping Mask. I'm now going to go to Command F again, and I'm going to make the fill a none and make the outside black. And I'm now going to, in my stroke, go and hit the dashed line. And you can have some fun in here and mess around with the dashes, the gaps, then the next dash and the gap. But I'm just going to leave it at the default 4 right now. And let's see. The only thing I don't like here is the fact that Jammin' Jammies, I guess my scaling was wrong. I wanted Jammin' Jammies to come outside. So basically what I want to do is I want to double click in here, and you're going to see I'm in isolated mode. Everything else goes transparent around the canvas except for my original art that was before it was clipped into a clipping mask. I'm now going to right click this all and ungroup, because remember I grouped prior to that. I'm now going to simply take my logo. I'm going to pull that image down just a little bit, and I'm now going to click off and see what happens. Okay, so basically what happened here was I moved it down, but it's still within that clipping mask. What you want to do here is, we should have had this done right from the get-go, but we're going to learn something here. Let's see. We're now going to actually, technically at this point, what you should do is, because we should jump into isolated mode again, take our logo and delete it, and now get out of isolated mode, and then we're going to go to edit, paste in front, because I just copied it. Now I'm going to repaste it in front. And if I turn my artboards off, hard artboards, this is basically what it's going to look like. So it looks exactly how we wanted to do it prior. That's all the refining stuff. This tutorial might be an hour, less than an hour, but this whole thing took a few hours to build. So that is how you build all 3 of these. Okay, so now that you feel great and you finally completed everything and you're ready to save this for the web, this is the fun part. It's done. And now you're very simply, you have 3 artboards. So if you click on either of these artboards, you're going to notice the little artboard around gets thicker as I click on it. So watch the artboard right here. I'm going to click on it. You see how it just gets a little bit bolder? That means it knows I have selected the artboard. You can also tell when you go to artboards, when you click, it changes which one it shows that you're on. So first, we're going to click on the first artboard. We're going to go to File, Save for Web, and this is like the best keyboard command to know. I honestly couldn't even tell you what the hell it is if you look at it, but I just know it because I do it so much with my fingers. So anyway, Save for Web. You want to now save this for web. You can save this as a PNG file, which will be nice and small. You can have transparency on it, or you can have a white background. But you can have transparency on it, which is good because you can kind of throw it on top of anything later on, and you won't have this white in the background. You now want to save that as, let's see, coupon banner to the desktop. We're now going to click here. We're going to go to the keyboard command to do that. In this case, I would not do a PNG. I would do a PNG, but without transparency, because you see how the background, it's going to fade into something. So if it's on top of a website that has like a blue background, you're going to see that blue right through it. So uncheck transparency in this case. Now hit save. We're going to do skyscraper banner. Or you can actually, technically, you should name the one. That should have been a 120 by 600 name. So last one, we're going to do this. We're going to name it 250 by 250 and to our desktop. And now, if we go to our desktop, okay, so you're going to see coupon banner 1, 250 by 250 2, and the skyscraper, the 120 by 600. So that is how you create these web banners in Adobe Illustrator CS6 and also using Photoshop CS6. All right, so thanks for joining us for another episode of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. Definitely like this video and share it out on your social networks. Definitely very important. Let me know your thoughts for future videos. We're not even halfway through this series, so if you have ideas of things that you want me to try to design for the upcoming themes, I will definitely try to implement them, of course. Here are a couple of other videos from the series that you can click on and access right here. And also, take the challenge that I speak about in the description below the video. Take these files and rework them into something completely different and send them to me, and I'll post them on my social networks so everybody can see different ways on how to do different graphic design styles. So I'll see you guys next week for the 11th episode of the Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp. Have a good night. Peace.